I need to introduce, ta-da, Kyosei.
Aloha.
I pulled out some questions. The poem was about collective awakening, which came from a chapter in the book, chapter 5, actually. Basically, the whole book is about that. Like I said, if you want to go on the wait list, this is your experience of the teachings.
Yeah.
And how we can learn through one person's experience of the spiritual ego and the fear of unconditional love. So the recognition of collective awakening, the turning point, right? The turning point. There's a moment of profound recognition, okay, that you were not meant to carry the information alone. Right?
Yeah.
Was there a particular moment, and what were the conditions that allowed that recognition to break through? So what had to die for that truth to be born?
There was a knowing that it was always supposed to be collective. Like there was this awakening in all of us. But what I was struggling with a lot in my life was the spiritual ego that was developed through my experience. And really, it was that there were several times when this acknowledgement came to me, like, yes, it is for all of us. We all are this unconditional love. It is not just me. And me looking for that and seeing the world evolving into understanding itself as this unconditional love, I could see people talking about this idea of unconditional love, and not directly. It really is in our own relationship with fear. And as I started looking into the world and seeing what was being taught, this idea of working with fear has become more and more verbal. It's something that we've talked more and more about. It's creating a natural ability to become more acceptable about fear being a part of life. It's not a full idea of everybody's like already there and remembering that, yes, we are infinite. It is like we already know we're infinite, but we're trying and struggling to express ourselves through all these conditions we were given growing up.
Say more about that.
We all, in my experience of working with people, I see the infinite within them. And there's an experience that we have together that the infinite is there and it's recognized. And yet the conditions that we grew up with are keeping us in a box of a way of how we express that in the world. And it is unique for each of us. This is our personality, our expression, the way we're supposed to be in the world. When we resist the things that are happening in our life, these are all the lessons. All these experiences that we have are like ways of us understanding who we are as unconditional love. And unconditional love accepts everything. And so it's this idea of a human being that doesn't really accept much. We are in a world that has lots of fears, lots of things to be afraid of. And so when we're working with expressing ourselves infinitely through these fears, we develop our personality. And this personality and who we are comes from these two parts of ourselves, this survival ego and this spiritual ego. The survival ego is easier to see because it's around a lot of protection and survival around eating and food and shelter, all the things in our relationship with even the planet itself, right? This is our survival ego helping us survive on this planet, understanding certain things like hurricanes and how to build things and to work with earthquakes, and all this is our survival ego activated to figure out a way how to survive. And because we've become really good at this, the spiritual ego has evolved within our species. And we have a lot more people studying spirituality. And it is an infinite amount of possibilities and ways that we can connect and be with unconditional love.
Mm.
In fact, all of us at this moment are in relationship with unconditional love. If we look at unconditional love as life itself, right? Life itself doesn't judge itself, doesn't blame itself, doesn't question
It's
itself.
not personal.
It's just life.
Mhm.
It's unconditional. And every single one of us are in relationship with our life. And the remembering is remembering that this relationship with life is this relationship with ourself as unconditional love. This is a relationship with our own soul. And as a human being, we have to play with this idea of consciousness and unconsciousness. Because being conscious is being open to the infinite possibilities of everything. And we can't connect and touch and be this. But when we want to engage in a relationship with someone, we want to engage in a relationship with someone in front of us, we have to let go of the idea of this connection and accept this one as the same. It's the same connection that I'm having with unconditional love by myself, I'm now having in relationship with someone else.
This brings me to the paradox. So let's look at, it's actually called the paradox of greater responsibility.
Yeah.
Right. So you're saying letting go, maybe a softening, because there is a paradox. You're all of it.
Yeah.
You know,
The spiritual ego and the survival ego are important to help develop our own expressions, our own individual way of sharing unconditional love in the world. What we're seeing in the world now is a lot of resistance to the unconditional love that we are. And it comes out as projection of our fears to blame, judgment.
You're right that this recognition brought both relief and even greater responsibility. So you'd think that releasing the messianic burden, that would lighten the load. So can you unpack that paradox a little?
The teacher is more of a way to, it's like the spiritual ego being able to express itself in all its wisdom. And there's a certain level of gratification in sharing it. The burden increases when you realize that remembering isn't necessarily going to happen from any teaching. It can, and yet remembering can happen at any time, in any place, to anyone. It's not always a spiritual seeker.
And
It's not
may
always
only be for 2 seconds.
And it may only be for 2 seconds, yeah. And that's been my experience a lot of the time is experiencing people see their greatness. But when you see the responsibility of that.
In my sitting in that presence, there was that I am it. Actually, I wrote a note at Jesus. It's on my, here it is, on my poem. Jesus, the child having a fit. I've said an epileptic fit, but in the Bible, I wanted to get the quote. I forgot. So in my moment of humanness, but in sitting, you know, being filled with the awe and the bliss and the unconditional love, and it just being so magnificent. And so the disciples have gone off trying to heal this child. So I'm paraphrasing this teaching. And so there was, I think, 3 of the disciples, and they were going around healing. Jesus had said, go forth, heal. And they did. They got to this young boy who was frothing at the mouth and seemingly possessed. And they couldn't heal him. And the father was begging. And these disciples couldn't heal. But they could heal all this time. And, you know, gaining the confidence. And they get to this village with this young boy, and they couldn't. Long story short, they see Jesus walking, coming into the village, and he said, what's going on? And the father is saying, you know, these men were trying to help my son. Please help my son, whatnot. And Jesus turns to the disciples and says, very matter of fact, you idiots type thing, like, who do you think you are? You are not it. You are not it. Right? So like in the poem and in what you're just reflecting on some of my past teachings around being a teacher, you're not a teacher without the teachings, but the teachings are nothing without the teacher.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like spirit coming through or light coming through, the Holy Spirit coming through heals. But
like
so Jesus then goes off
Mm-hmm.
and he starts praying to his Father and the child is healed. It's like you're not it. It's a longer story, but that's it in a nutshell.
We're all it.
We're it and we're not.
Right.
Without the consciousness, that's the paradox. Without the consciousness, that's the spiritual ego.
Yeah.
Let me be that, right? Let me heal. When you take it on as separate, then you're no longer it because you're separate.
Yeah, and it is the teaching then becomes an example, right? You're sharing an example of what it is to embody that experience.
There's different types of light, right? So primordial light, how does that come through? So unconditional love, right? Primordial light, unconditional love coming into the world. You aren't that primordial light, yet it's reflected, refracted, it's in you. What's your interpretation or what's your experience? Because it's that paradox again. You're it and you're not it.
Yeah.
But you can't be it without it.
I see me it with everything else. It's not just this human body by itself. This human body by itself is a piece of it.
Yeah.
It's not all of it, yet, there are aspects of unconditional love that could be reflected as all of it.
Yeah.
Because it's the same.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm laughing because that's my method, the it method. This IITT. Yeah. But that's why it's called that.
Yeah. It.
Yeah. That is the paradox. And I think that is the difficulty because you think you've awakened.
Yeah, the spiritual ego is, we can look at the the survival ego, we're running unconsciously unconscious.
Mm-hmm.
It's all conditioned behavior. The spiritual ego, we can become unconsciously conscious, which means that we accept so much fear in a certain area of life that we can create what might be considered a flow state or something like that. And this could be, any skill. It could be anything that we do that is where we take time to accept all the fears around it, so that when we're doing it, we're actually able to rest at ease and in a state of acceptance in the experience.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the spiritual ego. It's unconsciously conscious. When we become the unconditional ego and we embrace both of these areas of our life as a part of who we are as human, we become consciously unconscious. Meaning that as a human being, there's moments where I will become unconscious. And if I accept that, I can choose how to become unconscious.
I would say this. I would say the humans are unconscious, and it's becoming conscious that humanity is unconscious.
Which is the spirit, which is the unconditional.
And when we think we're conscious, we're actually unconscious.
We're actually unconscious, yeah. Exactly. Humility and dignity in that, right?
Yeah.
Because the unconsciousness comes from our greatness. And our consciousness, we can play with that consciousness within the unconsciousness, within our behavior.
Yeah. It's like saying that it is about becoming, or really the practices of being more human, more embodied, more here, to be able to reflect and refract with what I call pure metaphysics, a refinement or a clarity back to itself.
Or remembering. Yeah.
That's remembering.
I like that because it's not like when we see it, it's not like we thought we never knew it. It's always been a part of our experience. So it's not like, oh, it's something that I haven't been doing. It's something that
It's not like being taught something and going, oh, I know that now.
No.
Yeah. And I would.
It's not like, that's why teaching is almost futile, because it's not from that. It's from the presence of being what you're teaching.
This is how
through the teaching
I've spoken about that. It's like we are the sparks thrown forward. So the spark of light within us that isn't from the sun. It's an internal light that God, for want of better words, spark of light thrown forwards. And then as humans, we throw out that spark and replicate that into the world through our actions and whatnot, and children. Yet there's another way which links to the remembering, because going back through different teachings, depends what you believe or what you've experienced directly. But for me, it's that the shattering of the light as it's come into the world and gathering the sparks back to
pieces of the puzzle. Yeah.
So the remembering is like pulling the self back together.
Right.
So there's remembering, like what we just talked about, and there's the arm, there's the leg, there's the toe, there's the, or many of you may have read Women Who Run with Wolves, and there's that story of the gathering of the bones in the desert. And when all the bones are gathered, it turns into a wolf, I believe. I haven't read it for many years. And it runs off into the desert and it turns into a woman or something like that.
Here's the power of recognition is what can help us remember. And it is recognizing in other people their divinity. We cannot recognize divinity in another person unless we accept it in ourselves.
Yeah.
And so the practice of recognizing divinity in another person is not only supporting that other person in becoming and remembering who they are, it is helping ourselves remember who we are. And just in the recognition over and over and over, the remembering starts to happen. So the power in recognition, and that's the power of community, right? The power that we recognize each other as divine, and defining that divine in a way that's unconditional. Because if it's not defined unconditional, it is a conditioned love. So that divine part of us, if it has a container that can start to grow and allow the unconditional love to kind of remember itself through the recognition, a community that recognizes this as a part of who they are. And through that recognition is how we heal. Because we could point at all the fears over and over and over.
Yeah, yeah.
But healing comes from recognizing each other through those fears.
So this touches into what you said a few minutes ago. I see the cell within the atom. Right, we're all cells in the original being.
Adam.
So the Adam.
Yeah.
The Adam is this being with no boundary, really. It's not contained yet. So here's the paradox again. Yet we are, and everything is that exists is within that.
Yeah. There is it's like
it's recognizing that is what I'm saying, that this world is the Petri dish that holds all the cells.
Right.
But we think we are
separate.
We are a separate cell.
Yeah.
But, it's like the 6 trillion or 7 trillion cells within your body. I bet each one of them thinks it's separate.
That's right. Yeah.
And it's micro, macro, that each of us think we're separate.
We think we're separate.
But we're just little cells bumping each other around.
It can be hard to think of ourselves as all one when, someone's doing something that we don't accept.
Yeah, but what's your big toe doing? This is like so bringing it back to the body, continually as integration and whatnot, bring it back to the body. How do you feel it? Where do you feel it? What's the sensation? What's happening? Because you don't know majority of the time what your big toe's doing.
Right.
Or what your left ear's doing.
That's the part of being unconscious. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there are reasons for that, and it's beautiful and it's intelligent.
Yeah.
And what's it doing?
Yeah.
Do you see? So it is a paradox. It's a brain explosion. Most of the time, to see two opposite things together in the brain. Our human brain has difficulty with it. So even though it's simple words and we're expressing something very simple, to actually carry that together at the same time is something that takes practice.
So the power in that recognition is that as more of us recognize this divinity in each of us, those that might have a greater resistance to it become to see that that's their fear of it, because that's what's reflected. So it's, if we share a remembrance, it's like taking responsibility of our lives, right? So I'm remembering you as greatness and asking you to take responsibility for your life. You see me in my greatness and asking me to take responsibility for my life, my love and my fear. Someone who carries a lot of fear, these are a lot of times people in power carry a lot of fear, a lot of projection, a lot of weight, a lot of people,
a lot of burden.
And this can influence behavior.
No, it
does.
It does.
So by recognizing their greatness rather than their defaults, we are expecting them to do their greatness, not their projected fear. Do you understand? So it's like, if I see you and I accept you as great, your greatness, it's almost like there's a part of you that has to recognize that too, because I see it in you. If you're with me, it's like it allows you to be who you are. There's no resistance to it in the moment. As soon as there's a recognition of the responsibility, all the ego comes in and starts to protect. Oh, I can't do it. I can't do it. It's too much. My nervous system, blah, 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 blah. We have all the stories about it being too much, overwhelming, whatever life is throwing at us. It may be a lot of information. It's still not as much as what unconditional love is. And what I'm saying is, as we practice that relationship with unconditional love, all these other little fears in our life become simple. It's not that we don't feel them. It's not that we don't feel our fears. It's that we listen to them as information and gain wisdom from them through accepting them as a part of our experience. As information.
Great. Segue to this next question. You write about learning to be transparent, a transparent example for truth rather than a personal embodiment of it. So it's subtle and profound, but what's it actually look like in practice? For instance, how do you share infinite love without the spiritual ego or the patterns that would separate you from those you're meant to serve? Basically, what are the daily practices or moment-to-moment awarenesses that keep you transparent? So there's this profound, and what's it look like?
This is it's actually a very simple
You just touched on it for everybody, but what is it for you?
It is, so when we accept love and fear as a part of life, we're accepting all of who we are. And this love and fear, this contraction release, it happens all the time, moment to moment. We are contracting and releasing, and this contraction and releasing is how we have relationship. Without it, there would be nothing. There would be no difference, nothing to learn. This contraction and release is a natural part of how we interact with unconditional love on a moment-to-moment experience. And so to become conscious of that, so as I become conscious of the contraction and release in every moment, I am having an intimate relationship with that unconditional love.
Mhm.
And the contraction and release is happening in multiple places
So
and
that's
multiple
your-
times in my body.
That's your practice.
I'm either breathing,
Mhm.
I'm aware of a contraction and release and breathing, my heart rate is going, I'm using muscles that contract and release all day long, I'm moving all day long. So as I become aware of this contraction and release, I am actually enhancing my ability to process the fear that's stuck in the body, because the body is already naturally doing these contraction and release all day long, but we're fighting the processing or accepting of our fear. And so the body is naturally doing this, contracting and releasing, and we're resisting it unconsciously. So as we become conscious of contracting and releasing in every moment, we soften our thinking, because our thinking is about processing.
Mhm.
And so what's more effective in our ability to process is actually a physical way of processing. We can process physically way more than we can in a thought process. Thought process is linear. So as we think physically, information can travel through a quantum processing. There's the possibility of what I talk about as quantum processing, like a quantum computer. The body turns into its own quantum computer because we're adding in that element of something that is both love and fear. We're adding in the element and the consciousness of unconditional love to our nervous system, which allows for quantum processing. It has the positive, the negative, and that quantum element that does both. And that's how we are able to process the mounds of information that is who we are. And then in our daily moment to moment experience, we go into the love and fear, contraction, release, because that's how we interact individually.
Yeah.
And have relationship individually. So it is going right to that idea of the contraction and release in every moment.
Yeah. And I guess all your teachings want to go into that in deeper, and also in the book. So let's add on to that. I guess that question, you answered it beautifully. To be transparent, and to be a transparent example for truth rather than a personal embodiment of it. So let's just put that there and add this bit in. And where do you catch yourself slipping back into spiritual identity? So it's sort of like, how do you be one or the other or both at the same time?
As an unconditional ego, we accept both our spiritual ego, and as I embrace both of them, those expressions of ourselves sometimes blend, sometimes they're totally separate. Yet when we become conscious of them, right, we become consciously unconscious, which means our behavior, there's a sense of unconsciousness that comes with that.
Yeah.
So if we're conscious of that, we can train our behavior. The biggest thing is around accepting fear, because as the more I accept fear in my life, the less it has the ability to condition me.
So how would you know when there's been a slippage?
Anytime that I'm resisting a fear.
But how would you know?
There's always
see what I
stories.
mean?
My example of that in any moment is sharing my love and fear. So if I'm in a relationship, even if I'm upset, I'm saying, I'm scared. You gotta leave me alone, or this is not working. We gotta spend some space. It's being conscious that the fear is happening, and that if there's no resolution in the situation, someone pulls a knife on me or something, right? I'm gonna feel it. I could freeze, or I could accept the fear, and maybe the best situation is just to run. Or if I'm really skilled, it would be, maybe disarming him or.
So what do you mean by, so if someone pulls a knife, you accept the fear?
So there's a threat of my life.
Yeah. So
there's a fear of dying. If I can accept that.
But if you accepted your fear of dying, wouldn't you just stand there and be killed?
You could, right? You could.
You know what
it
I'm
would
saying?
be. It would be like.
That's
it would be like being the savior.
That's the other end of it.
That's being the savior. Right. You're putting yourself in that position so that someone can project their fear on you in a way that makes you their savior. anytime someone projects fear on somebody
Yeah.
without acknowledging it,
Yeah.
they're making them their savior,
There
right?
you
Accept
go.
this fear for me.
Yeah. Yep.
That's making somebody else
Yeah,
their
that's
Messiah,
cool.
right?
Because the book is called I Am Not Your Messiah. So that's perfect.
Right.
That, good. All right.
And, we feel all kinds of projections from all kinds of people all the time.
So you end by saying in the chapter, this is around chapter 5, right? You end by saying your real purpose is not to be a spiritual teacher, but to help dissolve the very need for spiritual teachers by assisting others in recognizing their own direct access to unconditional love. That was their birthright. So this, you're essentially saying the goal is to make yourself obsolete.
Correct.
But you clearly are still teaching.
Yeah.
Still transmitting, still writing these words. So how do you hold this paradox? What does teaching look like when the goal is to eliminate the need for teaching or teachers?
Yeah. It is recognizing the teaching is in the the position of it, I guess, is different. Rather than saying that I'm teaching because I know something that you don't.
So I'm going to heal you without the connection. Do you see what I mean? The same.
Yeah.
You think you're it and you're not.
Yeah, you're healing the person.
So in yoga, we would say without the teachings coming through, you've got nothing to teach. So you're not a teacher.
The teachings are merely my expression of who I am. It's like my skill. It's my trade, the thing that I took time to learn.
Interesting.
Okay. When I teach, I'm not going to teach like I know something you don't. I'm teaching something that you already know. So I'm still sharing, but how I share is not sharing something you don't know. Because when you accept fear, you look back at your entire life going, oh yeah,
in the way that
it's been there all along.
In the way that you know it, you may just not have remembered yet.
Exactly. And so the teaching, as long as I share it in a way that says, you already know this, you know love and fear. You experience it every day, in every moment.
But we're going to have a chat anyway. We're just going to chat. We're just going to talk. Because I say this to you. I've said this many times. There's communication. So when you accept fear enough, there technically isn't anything to talk about. Do you know what I mean? There's nothing to do. Like I've said,
then it becomes a choice.
Yeah.
When you want to interact, what relationship you want to be in.
It's you talking to you about you. There's nowhere to be. There's nothing to do. There's nowhere to go. Like I said,
then you choose.
Then you have the choice of whether you want to move or not move, whether you want to speak or not speak, whether you want to react or not react, like the knife or like if I'm speaking to you or whatnot. And that can be challenging in relationships where one person is remembering or you're remembering at different intervals. There's an interplay. Or the people around you.
That's where like the power of recognition comes in. You know? It's like, even if you're not there, if you practice acknowledging somebody else who you feel it is acknowledging yourself as that too. It's that reflection.
Yeah.
Because that person, if they really are, they will reflect it back to you and say, you are great.
If they don't, or the opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you want it to go back and forth. That's the flow of unconditional love. That's the way it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be flowing between us, not bound by one of us. It's flowing between us, all of us, within us, all around us. If we look like we're swimming in it, then we're actually getting closer to it.
Okay, the last one. Or you can continue on that, and then we'll wrap up.
Yeah, it's all unconditional love.
Yeah, we're having a bit of a Q&A party today. So you're writing this autobiographically, yet you're writing about the dissolution of personal identity and the recognition that I was never doing this alone. How do you reconcile writing a personal spiritual memoir when the teaching is that there is no personal alignment? Who is the I that is writing these words.
Yes.
Finale.
It's both, really, right? It's that paradox. It's writing from that paradox. It's writing from the I that is both the unconditional love and the human. And I would say that the wisdom that came from any of my books, this is number 6, the wisdom that came from any of them came from accepting the fears of my life. And as you go through the journey of my books, you will see the fears and how I've accepted them. And a lot of them come up to understanding this here, because I struggled with this idea of my spiritual ego and the idea that I was helping people. People were experiencing things. And yet it's not me doing that. It's me providing maybe a space that allows people to recognize themselves as this unconditional love, bringing this awareness to people for them to remember. Yet it's them remembering. It's all of us remembering. And this remembering is happening. Like I said, we are talking about fear much more in our society now, much more in the world. We're becoming more comfortable with the idea of talking about fear. We're still trying to master it. We're trying to get over it. We're still doing all the processing.
Push through it.
Push through it. We're still doing all that.
Jump over
But we're
it.
talking about it more and more. And that's what it takes to become comfortable with something as a part of life. If we say that fear is not a part of life, we're disillusioned. We are lying to ourselves.
That's why it's a, I keep using the word revolution. I don't know why.
It's a revolution.
Every poem it comes in revolution.
Yes.
Yeah. What popped in as I was saying, the I is the writings that you did to the one I love.
Yes, the original articles.
The original articles, which are all free on the Unconditional Love.us website. You can see those. And when you read them, if you read them of somebody speaking to the beloved, what I call the beloved, which is almost like a speaking to yourself. And yet it's both.
Yeah, it's the one I love.
It's that paradox again.
Exactly.
So when you read those
beautiful.
poems, there's multiple perspectives that you can read them from, and it's quite beautiful when you have, I guess, an awareness of those different perspectives.
Yeah.
When at the beginning of each writing you say, to the one I love.
That's right. And I was trying to convey that idea that the unconditional love in all of us. It's that one in all of us that I was talking about. And a lot of the stories that I share is my life. I use my life as a petri dish, a scientific exploration of humanity and of my experience. And so when I'm sharing things in the book around my own experience with relationships and raising children and family and all these dynamics that happen, these are things that go on for all of us. These are things that happen in all of our lives. They may sound a little bit different in the way that I describe them, but there's something that we all go through as a part of our experience of being human. The challenges of relationships, the challenges of raising children, the challenges of family. These are all aspects of life that we're working on. And this is just where I am at in accepting my own fears of what has happened in my life. And to be able to describe those experiences in a way that are as unconditional, as accepting as possible. As I grow, I will continue to accept more and more, and more writings will come. It's just how that happens. The wisdom comes from accepting my own fear. So
pop the wait list up again, put you on the email list for the book launch and to be first notified. But there's also the free book club. It's an 8-week book club that will be earlier in the year. So you'll have time to get your book and the gifts and whatnot that you have been preparing and other people have been preparing. So there it is there. I'm just giving a shout out because we haven't done a book club before like this. I'm a bit excited about it.
Yeah.
So to be like this, but with other people, with you, if you want to be involved, talking about what comes up for you. That's how you see a teaching or a story, or even saying, hey, what do you mean by that? And then you can share.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else you would like to
That
say?
sounds good. I think maybe to wrap it up and maybe do a little sitting together.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Do a little, maybe just short. You can sit 5 minutes in silence together if you'd like to join us to enjoy the space that's created here.
And be the presence.
Be the presence together.
Be the presence together.
Do that one, yeah. Do that one.
Thank you for sharing with us today.
Thank you.
And thank you all for being in presence, in unconditional love. Much love till we meet again.
Aloha.
May the blessings be.